Hello, Calaveras County. I am Mike Taylor. Welcome to Tammy's Window on Calaveras County. Tammy Beilstein will be with us again very soon. I'm going to pinch hit for her tonight. And we have a couple of really interesting guests with us that you're going to find fascinating because of the artistry that goes into what they do. Meet Bill and Bobette Paulson. How are you?
Good.
Good. Now, tell me a little bit about how you got into stained glass, because that's what you do, isn't it?
It is what I do. Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to make it short. I've been a carpenter my whole life, and when I was about 35, my hips started bothering me and that sort of thing, and I thought, I might need to do something else. I was living in McCullamy Hill at the time. A friend of mine was playing around with stained glass, and he told me what book to buy. It's called How to Work in Stained Glass. And so I bought that, and he gave me hints on what tools I should buy just to check it out. I just thought I'd kind of play around with it, and so I did, and got free glass at the hardware store, clear glass, and just started playing with that, and just discovered that I really enjoyed it because it was a building process just like carpentry. I mean, not exactly the same, obviously, but it's still a building process, and I just found it fascinating, and after a very short time, because I initially bought some pattern books, to make windows, and discovered that I could make my own patterns and drawings, because I've always drawn throughout my whole life. I've been into drawing and that sort of thing, and what really got me going was to get actually started as a business was, at the time I was working in a cabinet shop in McCullamy, or Sutter Creek.
Oh.
And the guy I was working for, his wife had a little shop in the front, and so I made a couple of windows and I put them in the shop, and amazingly, it was a Victorian-style glass, and in about 2 weeks it sold, and I thought, oh, I could maybe make a living doing this. So that kind of got me going. I started making some windows and sold a few more out of there, and then eventually, that was around 1975 and 6, and then in 1978 I decided to actually start a stained glass business, and I used to live in Hawaii, so I went to Hawaii and started a business over there.
I see.
And then was there for, well, until 1986 actually, when I came back to California. Yeah. Came
back to California, and when did you did you immediately get settled kind of again in this area, in Calaveras County, or?
Yeah, I actually the reason why I came back to California was because I was inspired to do these 4 seasons of Yosemite in stained glass.
Okay.
And a good friend of mine had a cabin in Arnold, and so I came to California, and he said I could stay in the cabin for, 6 months if I finished the cabin for him, because I put in some cabinets and did a lot of finish work in there, and so we had free rent for like 6 months. In the meantime, I was looking for a place that was big enough to house at least one of these murals, the first one that I did, because they're very big. They're 8 feet by 14 feet.
That's right, and so your carpentry skills have come in handy all along the process.
In many, many ways, because those, what do you call them, dry periods when you're not making any money, etc., I could always go out and get a job as a carpenter, because I'm a journeyman carpenter and have done a lot of finish work and cabinetry and that sort of stuff, so it's a real asset.
Well, I'm sure that plays right into, especially sort of the frame and the structure that the stained glass goes into,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. I mean, any windows that we make, I can always install them. I make wood frames, and some of the work that I do is like sculpted wood frames with the stained glass in it and that sort of thing. So the woodworking skills have really been a real blessing.
I bet. Now, your studio is in Arnold, correct?
Right.
Okay. And that's where you've worked on, and tell folks about these pieces from Yosemite, because I want to say I've seen 2, maybe 3 of them. I'm not...
Well, 2.
We only have 2. I was thinking, maybe I'm forgetting what exactly they look like, so...
Well, like I said, I came in '86 to, and I started the fall mural there. I spent 3 months down in Yosemite, living out of the back of my pickup truck. During the week, I was down there every night or every day, going out and doing sketches and that sort of thing, and then came back to this cabin on the weekends because I didn't want to be in Yosemite during the weekends because there's just so many people there.
Oh yeah.
But so once I got all these sketches, like I said, I sketched for about 3 or 4 months, and then started creating a composition and came up with a design for the fall mural, which is of Half Dome. The mural is called Tissisack, which is how the Native Americans pronounce it. That was their name for Half Dome.
Oh, okay.
So did that, and then it took me and I finished that in 1988.
Oh,
I started in '86, started the sketching in 1988, finished it, and then had a really lucky break. Some people that were friends of the president of the Yosemite, or the Curry Company, they had come into my studio while I was working on this mural, and I think I had probably about 5 or maybe 6 of the panels done. There's 7 panels per mural.
Okay.
And I was telling them, gee, I'd really like to get one of these this mural down into Yosemite, show it someplace down there. And they said that they knew Ed Hardy, who was the president of the Yosemite Park and Curry Company at the time. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, so once I got it finished, I approached the Ahwahnee Hotel about it, and they said, "Oh, we can't have private artwork down there." And so, and then I eventually got in touch with Ed Hardy, and it was kind of an accidental thing. But in any case, he said, "Well, come on down." He was just getting ready to go on a vacation. I happened to run into him, and I knew his name. And so when I talked to him, he said, in a couple of weeks when I get back from my vacation, give me a call and we'll get together and we'll talk about it. And so he did, and then he approved me having it on display for the premiere showing at the Ahwahnee Hotel in 1989. He was there for a couple of weeks in October. And so that was a real, so now I had that history, and then from that, the chief park interpreter, Len McKenzie at the time, he invited me. He invited me to asked me if I'd be interested in displaying the mural, the fall mural, at the visitor center for the centennial celebration, which was in 1990. So I said, yeah, that'd be great. So we installed it down there at the visitor center in 1990, and it was there for like 4 months during the summertime.
Oh, nice.
So that was cool, and then just a year and a half ago, well, it took me another 20 years then to finish or do the second mural, which is the winter mural.
Okay.
And then we finished that, and because it had a history there, and now there's a new president of it's the Delaware North Company, is the concessionaire down there now. Anyway, talked to him, and he let us put both of the murals in the Ahwahnee for 2 weeks in, I think it was April of last year. Because they were having a Yosemite Conservancy meeting down there. Yeah. And I was thinking, it'd be great to get this in front of those people. Maybe they'd be interested in buying, whatever. Sure. Anyway, that happened, and so now we've started the spring mural. I just started it about 2 weeks ago, or started the first panel. I had the drawings and all that stuff, which is another story, I guess. Anyway, I talked to this guy. His name is Dan Jensen. He's the president of the Delaware North Company at Yosemite. And I told him because we only have room in our studio for 2 murals, and now we're starting the 3rd one. So we needed space. So I asked him if we could maybe put one of the murals down there in Yosemite someplace, but it couldn't be at the Ahwahnee because they could only have things there for like a short time. I see. And I needed like a whole year, and so he said that we could put the murals down there. Went over to Yosemite Lodge and picked out a place. So now the fall mural of Half Dome is in the Cliff Room at Yosemite Lodge, which is kind of behind the main registration desk there. And in a week and a half, December 1st, we're going to go down with the winter mural and put it where the fall mural is, and then bring the fall mural back to our studio. Okay. So, and then it'll be there until April of 2015.
Great. Now
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know we've got some footage that was shot at your studio, and I want to make sure we get to that. So let's take a look at that, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Okay. Welcome to the Polson Art Gallery here in Arnold, California.
Can we turn around and look at it?
I'm Bill Polson, one of the owners of the Polson Art Gallery. This is my wife, Babette, and we've been doing stained glass work for a number of years, actually since 1975. And so we both are stained glass artists. My wife specializes in fused glass work, and I specialize in making wood furniture with sort of an Asian flair. We work together on various projects. We do a lot of commissions. And maybe Babette would like to explain about some of her fused glass work.
Well, a few years ago, I got interested in going a little bit different direction from doing the stained glass work, and started doing fused glass. And fusing is basically heating up the glass till it fuses together, melts together, and at different temperatures you get different effects. And so playing around with that, I've come up with quite a few different designs. All right, well, the plates that I fuse, everything is basically fused flat first, and then pieces are cut up and put together in the various patterns that you want to use. And then after the initial fusing flat, you put it into various molds to slump the glass at a different temperature, a little bit less heat, and you get the shapes that you want. One of my favorite tools for working in glass is a hammer, and I like to hammer up different leftover pieces of glass and pile them up on a clear sheet and fire it flat, and I get these different colors. Gives you an interesting variation, and then slump that into a bowl shape. And recently I've started doing these little boxes, and these are fused at a different temperature, so each one of these designs on here keeps its shape. And then after I get the sides done, everything is glued together. This one right here has a lot of different designs on each side. This is different glass that I like to use in a lot of my platters and things. I call this my Canyonland glass. To me, it looks like the layers of sandstone that we see when we go hiking in southern Utah. This is an example of a platter that I've done where the designs are fired at different temperatures. Some of it is fired at a higher temperature, so it lays flat, and then other details are fired at a little bit lower temperature, and you can feel the three-dimensional effect. They stay raised. And then this is a wooden display stand that my husband makes to display pieces of art. And I've put one of my more unusual designs on here that's been fused at a lower temperature and slumped over a mold to give it an unusual shape. It's quite delicate.
This particular piece of furniture is an entry table with a matching mirror, and I like working with the natural edge. This happens to be a piece of maple burl with the Asian style base. The Asian style base, I think, accents the naturalness of the maple burl. And then, of course, a matching mirror goes with it. This three-panel folding screen is made out of cherry and copper foil technique art glass. The wood part is sculpted, hand sculpted. And I like working in this medium because I like combining the wood and the glass together. I think it works really nicely. This is a Hawaiian Eevee bird in the upper left corner of the left panel, and heliconia, lower right panel. The yellow bamboo, this is inspired by a trip to Hawaii that I made. I used to live in Hawaii, and that's why I started my stained glass business. But I like doing these folding screens. I have 2 or 3 different bamboo designs that I do because I like combining the two mediums. We've done a number of large mural projects and large stained glass projects in general. The one we're working on right now and have been going on for some time is the 4 Seasons of Yosemite in stained glass. The fall mural, which we completed in 1989 or 1988, was on display at the Iwani Hotel for a couple of weeks for a premiere showing. And from that, we were invited by the chief park interpreter to display it at the Visitor Center in 1990 for the centennial celebration. Then again, about a year and a half ago, we had both murals, the winter mural and the fall mural, on display at the Iwani Hotel again. And now the fall mural is on display at the Cliff Room at Yosemite Lodge by the Falls in Yosemite Park. We're currently working on the spring mural, which I've just started the first panel. We will be continuing on that until, well, we get it finished. Hopefully we'll have it done by maybe April of 2015. And I'd like to show you some more of our work. This is the winter mural, which is the second of the 4 seasons that we're doing of Yosemite. It's a full moon nighttime scene, winter, with the bobcat kind of scoping out the snowshoe hares hiding in a log. It takes about 2 years to do one mural because you got to go from the original concept of the design to the full-scale drawings. And then that takes, up to the full-scale drawings, that takes about a year to complete. The actual cutting and assembling of the pieces takes about another year, cutting all the glass and putting it together. Some of the glass that we've used is very special, like the sky glass is all hand-blown. In other words, they blow the glass into a cylinder, and then while it's hot, they slice it and lay it out flat. It's the most expensive glass in the mural. It costs about $115 to $20 for one sheet, and the sheet size is about 2 feet by 3 feet. But it was very special for this particular mural because it looks like a nighttime cirrus cloud kind of night with the full moon shining off the clouds.
Just beautiful work on both of your parts, and I know this has been kind of the Bill show, so I'm going to switch to Bob Mann for a minute because I have to ask, because I've heard a lot about fused glass. It seems like just in the past, I want to say about decade, it really kind of got popular
it's really taken
again.
Off.
And so what drew you to that particular practice?
Well, when we were, we had a couple of murals that we did for Japan. And we wanted to paint a lot of the details. And the painting requires fusing, so we had to get a kiln. So I thought, well, I got to use this kiln for something else, too. And before I started fusing, I was also doing a lot of the stained glass in nature scenes and stuff.
Okay.
But when I started fusing, it really took me in a real different direction as far as art goes. I started getting into more abstract and blocks and lines of color and just see things a lot more in a real different way than I do with the stained glass.
Now, do you always start with, say, what we would call a pane of glass, and then you heat it just enough to mold it and bend it to how you want it? Or
it actually, it's an all-day process to fire something because it has to go up at a certain rate. So, and when it cools down, you have to go through an annealing process so that it doesn't break. And then the glass has to be compatible with each other so there's not the tension in it, because then it could shatter also.
I've heard that. It's actually
Yeah,
a relatively complicated process.
There's a lot of technical stuff to it. Yeah, yeah.
Now, I saw in those pieces, there's kind of a mix. It seems like you have kind of a geometric side to your work, and then sort of what I would call a free-flowing, sort of natural style to it. Which do you prefer?
Oh. It depends on the day, I guess.
I was going to say, it could be however the mood strikes you, and you just take off.
Yeah, it's real
and start
different. A lot of times when I'm trying to go to sleep at night, all these ideas will just start popping into my mind when I'm trying to relax, and just getting ideas flowing, and so I like to try different ideas, different designs, and.
Now, do you work on the big stained glass pieces, like these Yosemite pieces, also? Or?
Well, I do big projects also, and but the Yosemite project has been mainly bills.
Mostly bills?
Yeah,
okay.
I've helped them on that, but
greatly. Really, I mean, the winter mural is one of the things that people notice about the winter mural the most, which it doesn't really show up in the video too much, is the eyes of the bobcat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I was picking out a certain glass, because I wanted it to be a little bit greenish, but the glass wasn't transparent enough. And she said, "Oh, you should use this glass here." And fantastic.
The reason that it is because it's a nighttime scene, and you know how cats' eyes will just glow at night. Yeah. And so when this mural has the light on it, the eyes just light up.
People really notice that.
That's what I was going to ask, is in the video there, is that piece backlit also, or
in the video, it's the when you look at our studio, like the last shot there, you see the outside of the studio, you can kind of see the rocks that are stuffed through the middle part of that large opening. Okay. And that's the view you see when you walk into the studio, so that's just reflected light. The video was when he was on the inside, and the natural light was on the outside. Although the colors are way more brighter, different than on the video. I
was going to say probably more vibrant. It's hard to capture that on video.
That's the trouble with stained glass, is that it's very hard to get a good photograph or that sort of thing of it, because the lighting, it varies. And that's what's cool about stained glass too, is it varies throughout the day.
Well, the reason I started to ask about that is what fascinated me about the winter piece is how do you get that lunar glow to come across the whole piece? That's got to be a real trick to working with glass.
When I was getting ready to do the winter, or not getting ready to do it, I knew all along that I wanted it to be a nighttime scene, full moon nighttime scene, and very monochromatic. And so, picked all the blues and some purples, and then the one warm spot is the bobcat. And of course, he's looking at the snowshoe hares down on the other end there, and they're looking there at fear and trepidation, like, oh my God. But just the glass, itself, and you have to pick out the right glasses that are going to be, right for, like the tree that's in there, the snag that's in there, the bobcat's sitting on. And
we actually spend a lot of time picking out the glass. That's a major piece of the work.
And then you cut it to fit the piece that you have in that panel that's going to be part of, let's say, the tree that the bobcat is on?
Well, the whole process is, when I'm designing it, I have in the back of my mind, because I know a lot of, we have catalogs of different glasses that are available and glasses that we've seen. We know what's available, and so when I'm designing it, I'm thinking, oh yeah, this particular glass is going to be great for the bark on the tree, or this particular glass is going to be great for the cliff, El Capitan, or the Cathedral Rocks, or a leaf, or whatever. And then, then you go. So then you have your watercolor, and you go to pick out the glass at a distributor's place, and you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need, like the song. And so sometimes you have to compromise, but it seems like the compromises always seem to work out just fine.
That's something. Now, do you prefer to do the great big mural size pieces, or do you like to do once in a while, maybe a porthole for a home or something like that?
I don't know. I guess I'm more into dramatic.
The big and dramatic.
You like the big projects.
The big stuff.
Well, fusing it, like you say, with your woodworking, the wood furniture is beautiful also.
Yeah,
so that's
and I love
be
doing
really
the wood,
nice.
because I grew up doing that.
Sure.
Not
Now-
the furniture, but, carpentry.
Now, we're not completely out of time, but I want to make sure we give folks an opportunity to get in touch with you if they're curious about your artworks or something like that. So how can they get in touch with you? Do you have a website or phone number?
We have a
or whatever?
website.
Okay.
The website address is williampoulson, POULSON.com.
Okay.
Very simple. Our address, where our studio and gallery is in Arnold. It's at the Cedar Center.
Cedar Center, yeah.
And our telephone number, if you want to call, is 209-795-5365. That's basically the contact, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if folks just happen to be up in Arnold, let's say on a weekend or something, is the gallery, is it open for somewhat regular hours? Or?
Somewhat regular. I mean, we're accused of not being there a lot, but because it is a working studio.
Because you're always in Yosemite.
Well, no, not so much that we're. But my wood shop's in a different location, a couple blocks away.
Gotcha.
Bobette might be doing something, and we can't afford to have somebody sitting in the shop all the time.
Sure.
So we're open, but we try to be open Tuesday through Sunday, about 10 to 6.
Okay.
That's kind of our general hours. But it's best, if somebody's planning to come up there, it's best to give us a call to make sure that we are going to be there.
Sure, that's and you'd
I
be
encourage
surprised
people to do that.
the number of businesses in this area that's a good idea
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
whether it's an art studio or not. Now, since you both kind of work in glass, is that what brought you together as a couple? Or?
It is. Exactly.
It was something that we had in common right away. Yeah. So I started working in glass in the 70s also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, about the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've only been together for 13 years now.
Okay.
And she was working across the street, actually, and taking her breaks, and she'd come over to our studio, my studio, because she had done stained glass before and was familiar, and so that's how we met.
That's something else. So
Yeah.
now, did you have a great, big, beautiful piece of stained glass at your wedding or anything like
No.
that?
No,
In fact,
actually, we got married in one of our favorite places to go camping up at Lake Utica.
Perfect.
Yeah,
It is a
so we got
perfect
married
That's
up there.
some of the best weddings I've been to have been those kinds of
Yeah.
ceremonies
Yeah, oh, yeah, it was
where
fabulous.
everybody's it's just be and enjoy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was great.
That's great. Now, just real quick, what do you enjoy most about working with glass? I know we could probably do a whole nother half hour on that, but you know.
what I think what I enjoy the most is when I finally have finished the project.
Yeah, yeah.
and then can
And then you
hold
can-
it up and see the light coming through.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet.
Because while you're making the glass, you're holding a little piece up here to the light. Oh, okay, that looks like it'd be good for this, or it'd be good for that, or. But you don't see the whole picture at one time. And then
That's
once
right.
it's all done, hold it up, put it in front of the glass or something, so you get some outside light, and then you can say, oh, gee, that
gonna
didn't
say,
work.
get
That
some
didn't work
sunlight
out.
shining through it and-
Or maybe it did work out. You know?
Now, can you, if there's a piece that's small enough, can you go in and replace that piece?
Oh, you can,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's
But it's
you
almost
want it
too
when
much
you're doing
work,
stained
huh?
glass. You really kind of want to make sure that you've got everything figured out. It's kind of like watercolors in a way. I mean, it's
see.
different, but with watercolors, if you make a mistake, it's not like you can paint over it like with oil painting.
That's right.
And with stained glass, if you decide even in the middle of a piece, and we have done that. Oh, I think I'd like to do this a little differently. It takes quite a process because each piece of glass has a pattern for it.
That's right.
And then it affects all the other pieces around it. And so,
You're going to be
if you're-
manipulating everything
yeah,
rather
right. So
than
if you're
just
going to make
that.
any changes,
Yeah,
you want to make sure
yeah.
you've done that before you've soldered it all together.
That's right. And I love the line about using a hammer with glass.
I know.
I can't wait to see you do that more often.
I think that's the greatest line.
Well, Bill and Bobette Paulson, it's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mike Taylor. Look for Tammy Beilstein next time on Tammy's Window in Calaveras. Thanks for joining us.